to the show. I feel like I'm cut off, but I'm not. I'm seeing this thing on the top. But a couple of things. Number one, welcome to the show. Number two, I have to change that opening because I shaved. And I don't want to misrepresent. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's a Friday if you're watching this live. Very excited. The show is really, I'm getting a lot of great people. I mean, great people. And by the way, if you're an actor, a creative, a performer, a director, a producer, a writer, it doesn't matter. We have something for everybody. My pal Sal, been dying to say that. My pal Sal, who's my partner in New York, who is oprime.tv. So if you are a filmmaker and you want to put it on a platform, it's free. And he puts it up there, and Sal is probably one of the best promoters I've ever met, next to me. Anyway, but he is willing and waiting to be able to get any of your film festival films, or just, you know, shorts or longs or features or whatever you want to put up there. And I think that you can, it's actually kind of monetized, so when people click it and check it, they can actually, you know, you can make some money. Whatever. It's not why we're doing this, right? Okay, so today is a really good day if you're in the industry, because there's a lot of shit happening. A lot, I'm telling you. Other than COVID, because literally everybody I've talked to in the last week now, including directors on 2 or 3 things I have coming out, going, yeah, we're going to wait a week because I got COVID. I'm like, my God. But be safe. I don't care what you believe in regards to that, whether you think it's real, it's not, it's whatever. By the way, props to Meatloaf, wherever he would be. Unfortunately, he passed today, COVID related. But anyway, let's not make the program start off cheerful like that. If you are a creative, you know that there is so much out there that you can do. And one of the particular reasons why I've been knocking on this person's door to come on the show is because she's extremely active, interactive on her social media. She goes by She Wolf. You'll see this in a second, and you'll see her sizzle reel or demo reel, whatever. Writer, director, producer, not necessarily in that order. And she will be on the show here in moments, and I'll stop talking. So without further ado, the moment is here, and I'm going to show you something really cool that I think you're going to enjoy. As soon as I find it, right there, here we go.
I've been having dreams, jumping on the trampoline, flipping in the air, Neverland just float there. As I'm looking up,
I don't think you understand. But the love of my life, when he moved to LA, it was like a piece of me died. Till I thought you were dead somewhere.
as I'm looking up, suddenly the sky erupts. Flames will light the trees, red the fallen leaves. Girl, they're right upon me. Wait, if I'm on fire, how am I so deep below when I dream of dying?
Hold on. More.
So deep below when I dream of dying, I never feel so lost.
Okay, I'm going to end it right there, only because I will leave it at the end of the show so you can watch the whole 3 minutes, and it's exciting. Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have to tell you something that watching your Instagram and what you do, first of all, let me get rid of this little, oh, that got big on us. Hold on a second. Let's put this down here in the lower thirds a little bit. One of the things I have to point out absolutely is that, you know, when you start in this business, and they say make love to the camera. I have to tell you, like, I love your Instagram because I think you antithesize. I'll check that word out later. The fact make love to the camera because you always have an awesome looking rig, something in your hand that you're a camera, and obviously you love the camera.
Yes, I mean, I am also a cinematographer and I'm always working. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to get some behind the scenes footage to showcase what's
Yeah.
going on in the world, in your world. And I always like to help filmmakers and not just talk about what I'm doing, but help others along
Sure.
the way too. So
Right.
it's, giving pointers, letting them know what's going on. I feel it's a community,
Yeah.
We're here to support and encourage one another along the way. And I'm very, very grateful for all the opportunities that I've had with
Right.
being able to work with Red and Panasonic.
Yeah.
I'm a global brand ambassador for Panasonic. I was using them way before they reached out to me. Yep.
G5.
Which one?
GH5.
Yep. Yeah. I
22,
have
25
the
millimeter.
5 and yeah, it's great. I'm using the Mark II GH5 right now.
Wow.
That they sent last year, which was great. I feel great. I only work with brands that I already have been using.
Sure.
So, I never want to lead astray the filmmaking community by just, jumping on board because they're paying you.
Sure.
So everything that I'm using, I really love, and I was already using prior to working with anybody.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah,
let me
it's
jump in.
cool.
Let me jump in and say that it shows that you are tech savvy, that you are really interested in the gear, the stuff that you get. Obviously you just said something that I didn't know, meaning that you're getting and working with some of the like Red and Panasonic. And if you watch your Instagram, which by the way she will films, you can see that you're constantly you have a rig in your hand and you've got your camera and you're talking about it. In addition, which we'll bring up in just a little bit, will show that you actually have a course that people can take, which by the way I signed up for, and the reason why I did mainly is not. I mean, I've been doing this business for 40 years, but you know what? How much is it? Here's a question: how much has this business changed in even the last 5 years, 4 years? How much has it changed?
It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
I feel everyone asks me, what is the importance of social media? And I said, it's changed my life completely.
Yeah.
I've been in the industry 14 years, but there was no social media when we started, right? There was nothing. There was no YouTube. There was no Instagram.
Nothing.
We had to make the regular connections of in person, working on sets and just
Yeah.
hoping that something clicks, right?
Yeah.
But since social media really started to kind of happen, I want to say the last 3 years is when I really started taking social media seriously and trying to build a community. And next thing I know, filmmakers world and indie filmmakers and learn filmmaking and filmmakers up, they all started promoting me, and I'm like, this is so crazy. I had no idea. I woke up one day and then everyone was sharing me. I was like, this is so crazy. I was not expecting that. I didn't look for it. I didn't reach out to anybody. They
Right.
just stumbled upon something I did, and then I used that as my opportunity of connecting and getting involved. And I feel with social media, we can connect with people all over the world.
Yeah.
And we're able to make these relationships and build friendships. And that's how I have partnered with Red and, with Panasonic. How I got the opportunities with Red, first of all, is through social media. And it's important. We are entrepreneurs. We're not just creative people. We're not just a name. We have to be our own brand as well. And so we have to promote ourselves. We are going out there, claiming the territory that we want, and that's just the way the world is now. No
Right.
one else is going to do it for you. You
No.
have to do it.
Right, and you know what, on that point, this is something that I feel like I preach. Here we go, here's my soapbox. All the time I talk to actors that will direct message me and say, how are you doing it? What are you doing? What, you're working all the time. And I say, I got this when I don't have this. And if you don't learn how to even just do this, you might as well go work as a barista. And that's not
Yeah.
a bad job, because we have to be able to know how to do these things. Because, and let me ask you this question as a director. Would you rather have someone who's savvy at all these things and knows how to briefly work and light and so on, or would you rather have an actor that goes, oh no, I'll be in my dressing room, where are my red M&Ms?
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with both. You know, I've
Yeah.
worked with all kinds of people and personalities. And, you know, as a director, we have to kind of figure out solutions for everything.
Right.
But to be honest, with the way things are changing, even actors, they're taking things in their own hands,
Yeah.
you know, and they're putting their content out there on social media too to get recognized. And one of my actresses that I found, because I saw some of her content, she was just posting stuff on Instagram, and I was like,
Yep.
wow, she's really awesome. I would
Yeah.
love to work with her. So I feel like when you're constantly putting yourself out there and you want people to see what you're doing, it's hard not to notice you.
Absolutely.
You know, we're our own brands. We have to be entrepreneurs. You have to kind of do more than just one thing. It's, you know, you can't just be an actor anymore, or I can't
No.
be just a director anymore.
No.
We have to kind of understand a little bit about everything
Sure.
so that we're able to take that in and help the people around us
Right.
when we're on set. You know, it's just, the world has changed, it's evolving, you know, everything is, and it's just the way it is. It has changed
Yeah.
drastically in the last, I want to say, even 3 years. It's
Yeah,
changed.
it has. And you know, and basically the reason why you want to do this is because, look, you can, as an actor, you can get out and do 100 different auditions, and the material may not be right for you. And you might be, you know, you're struggling to try to make yourself fit in the mold of what the agents are getting from you, or you get out Actors Access, or whatever the case may be. But when you think about it, if you want to produce your own stuff, whether it's this, that, or the other thing, you get to write it if you know friends and so on, or get scripts, which you can get. And you
Yeah.
can do things that spotlight what you do best, because ultimately that's how you notice that person. Because if you're constantly creating content like I do, and you're out there going, well, this is what I do best, they're going to go, huh, that's funny, or that's serious, or that's whatever. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, I noticed you. So you really want to be in this world of filmmaking and film festivals, because, you know, back in the day, I started in '82. You had black and white headshots. You had to depend on your agent. You know, the only people you could pitch if you're doing something are the studios. Good luck. Now it's gone to the way, and you know this, that you can do your own thing and get it shown on the big screen with a whole lot less, blood, sweat, and tears.
I still think there's definitely tears still,
Yes,
you know,
a
within
lot of that.
everything. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of tears.
Yeah.
Because it's still, no matter what direction you're going, you still have to make it happen.
Yes.
And you're still crying half the time. But, you know,
that's true.
but that curtain, that veil of not being able to cross through is lifted now. You know, it's fallen down
Yeah.
because we all kind of took it down and we're like, you know, enough is enough. You know, the pandemic is here, but guess who's surviving? It's the
Yeah.
independent filmmakers, because we're the ones that are used to working with skeleton crews and trying to think outside the box. And
Right.
you know, where some of the studios are freaking out because they're like, how are we gonna continue on when we can't have X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, oh, please, we've been doing that without any of that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, we're able to really push through. I mean, that's why I was able to shoot River during the pandemic when everyone else wasn't able to shoot, was because I took that opportunity, and the investors and everyone was just right. And we're like, let's go make a movie. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we did it. You know,
Yeah.
we had our skeleton crew. It was a very safe set. No one was sick, thank God. And it's a crazy world that we're in, but this is the year of the independent filmmakers, I
Yep.
believe. It's the time to rise. And the studios are learning from us on how to overcome these obstacles
Yeah.
without having a huge crew on set,
Yeah.
because now you're like breaking it down and, okay, who needs to be there instead of
Right.
just having people there, you know?
Right. Yeah. And you know, the thing, and here's the thing, is that when the pandemic did start, you're in LA, right?
I'm bi-coastal, so I'm actually in South Florida right now.
Okay, cool. Before the pandemic happened, I was going 3 or 4 or 5 times a week back and forth to LA. I live in Temecula, if you know where that's at. So that's like 2.5 hours from LA, but 4 or 5 times a week. This is not my hobby, it's what I do. So I was going back and forth, but I gotta tell you, there is something positive in my opinion about COVID is that when it happened, I'm a live stream producer, and I'm like, you know what? And they're starting to say, it's all gonna be self-tape. I'm like, because I don't have to drive 2.5 one way, 3.5 the other way. But the other part about it is that I created something right before the pandemic happened, where I was doing like webisode stuff, and I'd have the other actors wherever shoot their stuff, and I was doing it as a FaceTime call. And I've got a couple of them on my Instagram thing, and it worked out great because then I'd get the footage and we transfer whatever, and I would sit there and edit it down and do these funny little bits while people were saying, well, I don't know what we're going to do anymore. What are we going to do? I'm like, find a way, bob and weave. And you have to, and you're right. I think it is the year of, whatever you want to make filmmakers, because there's a lot out there.
Yeah. Now is the time. Now is the time to kind of step up and make things happen. I mean, even look at TikTok. I see so many actors on TikTok that have really blossomed and are getting opportunities because of, hey, you know what? We're all here. I'm going to make content. And so that's what they did. And I feel like that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Like the pandemic, there was 2 types of people. There were the people that kind of pushed through and we're resilient and we're like, all right, we're still going to try to figure out this new way of living. And then there was the others that just kind of let things happen to them, and obviously it's everyone has their own walks and their own path of how they're going to handle things. But the people that really saw this as the opportunity to push through the crowd really pushed through. And I saw some really awesome people just kind of pop out, and it is like, I look at everything as an opportunity.
Sure.
Okay, this happened, but I still can do this.
Right. Right.
So I feel like it's important for us to constantly reinvent ourselves and grow and adapt and figure it out. I mean, why do you see singers half the time constantly reinventing themselves every year? Because they're always changing. The market's evolving, and if you don't stay current, then you're not in the market anymore.
Right, and you really do. I agree with you wholeheartedly that you constantly have to be reinventing yourself and what you do. And there are 2 different types of people when the pandemic hit, and I don't want to be rude, but the people that aren't doing anything are the ones that got drunk a lot and fat. No offense.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, poor me. But as well as I do, back me up on this. But could you be in a harder profession, career? No, because we're so used to getting, drug around
rejected.
the mud. It's horrible.
It's like, I was doing a live with Rain Dance the other day. I do a live with Rain Dance a lot. Like, Elliot's a really awesome person, and I chat with him frequently. And we were talking, and I'm like, you know what? We must like pain, because this industry, there's so many highs and lows that it's like, all right, you're going to tell me no again? All right.
Yeah, cool. Well, you wind up thriving. That's interesting, really. I'll interject this really quickly, is that I always tell people, I go, because I do a lot of keynote speaking, I go, there's 2 different ways that people succeed. One is that they're being told all the time, oh, you're awesome. And they were a kid, you're awesome. And then there's the way I was raised by a dysfunctional family of alcoholics, and they would just beat you down and say you're horrible. And then you would succeed, the Rocky thing, based upon the fact that you're used to people saying, yeah, that's not quite it. But then eventually you reign supreme. And that's not easy, because I can tell you how many times I've spent in my car in clown makeup, because I was a professional clown, crying. Not a good sight, by the way, on the side of a road. And
a
just
clown
thinking,
crying.
Why not me? Why not me? Why not me? Here we are, 40 years into this. I can't tell you there's not a better time to do this.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, I've shed my share of tears so many times. I mean, I had one project that was greenlit, and I was on location. We were there for a month. Everything was ready to go, and the cast was on the way. We already had a cast out there. The entire crew was there, and then the money froze in the account, and we had to basically send everybody home because the investor didn't pay his taxes correctly. And so everything just got shut down. And I had to max out cards to get people home.
Sure.
And I mean, it was the most devastating thing because I didn't think about myself at that time. It was more of my cast that I spent years working with, you know, that some of them stopped going to school, you know, they were in college, they put college on hold so that we could finish this project together. And then some of them turned down other opportunities to make this happen. So like, and then, so I was left in this mess because of, that unfortunate occurrence. And so I cried a lot, but then I had two options there. I'm like, I either I'm going to sit here crying or I have to find solutions and get everybody home and figure this out. And that's what I did. And I took a break. I took a wild break after that because that hit me so hard. That was pretty devastating. And I thought that was it for me. I was like, oh my God, I'm finally doing this. You know, this was 5-6 years ago now. No, this was like 6 years ago, something like that. So I was like, I was devastated. And every single one of those people, they're still friends with me. No one stopped being friends with me, you know, because I chose to be, you know, honest and tell everybody, hey, this is what happened.
Sure.
We're still going to figure this out. And we did. And, you know, like, so River was honestly such a moment for me because I went through so many failures leading up to finally getting to make my first feature film. And, you know, I've shot multiple award-winning short films and I've done pilots and I've done all kinds of stuff, but I really wanted to make my feature film debut as a director, and I also was a cinematographer on River. And I was like, you know what, it's like, you never know what people are going to go through. It's about pushing through and keep moving because you only really truly fail when you're not trying.
That's true.
So as long as you keep getting back up and you keep on moving and try to stay positive, you're allowed to have the day of, you know, crying and being upset, but then just pick yourself up and keep going because nothing in this world is handed to you on a silver plate. I mean, some people maybe, but for me, nothing was ever handed to me. No. I worked with Michael Mann when I was 19 years old on his film sets, and he didn't hand anything to me. Right. You know, like no one handed anything to me. And, you know, I get tired because on social media, people are like, oh, everyone hands things to you. And I'm like, don't you think I would be like somewhere different? You know, I'm like sitting here, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm out here hustling and working my ass off, getting, you know, investments so that I can make my projects.
Yeah. So you kind of answered the next question that was popping into my head, which is basically about the fact that what is it that keeps you going? What is it that, if there's a phrase or a thing or an incident that happened, I guess you explained one, that when you, because a lot of times, and I've seen this a lot on Facebook, because I all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I've got all these Facebook followers that I had when I was doing about 30 years of theater, and they're all like, oh, you did it overnight. I'm like, yeah, okay. But what is it, that one thing that makes you realize that that you have to keep going? Is there one particular thing? A trait?
I don't know. I think I'm just insane. You know, like, I don't know. There's that something in me that I'm so stubborn and I'm so, like, I just can't give up. No matter how times I fall on the ground, it's just like, I just keep going. And I have it in me that I just don't want to stop. I love what I'm doing. Ever since I was a 6-year-old child with my mom's camcorder. Nice. And people would tell me left and right in my family, you know, you'll never make it, you know, you'll never make a film. That's a silly career to kind of chase, you know, because they don't understand, you know, some of the family that I, you know, grew up with, no one's in the industry. I'm the only one that kind of came out here. My parents have always been supportive, even if they didn't understand things certain times, they still were super supportive. I was lucky with that, but I still had the self-doubts of, why aren't you going to a regular college? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Because, you know, there's talking out of just concern of my own well-being and knowing that this industry is difficult. And I just, in my heart though, I've wanted it so badly, and I want to create so badly that giving up was never an option. I'm also a mom. He's going to be 10 in May, and that is another driving factor for me too as I get older. Like, I can't give up because this is how I provide for my child. You know, like this
Yeah.
is what other career am I going to do? You know, it's
Sure.
like this is there's no part of me that's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna stop now.
I'm gonna go do this or that. By the way, we're in the same boat. I have a 7 and 11-year-old, and
Yeah.
they're always like, "Dad, you can do anything." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So when we moved to a different area here, and I'm a balloon artist, professional magician, all this other stuff, and I'm all of a sudden become very popular at parties. But I'm gonna take a small little break here. Do you have a little bit more time afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hang tight. Hey, just so you know, I'm going to put all this information up there in a second. You are watching Film Festival Live, and I appreciate that very much. I'm going to bring up something here. A good friend of ours that has been on the show, Victor. Victor is a amazing person. He has a series called American Family, and a lot of others, a cooking show. He is probably as aggressive, if not more than me, maybe. But here's something that he sent to me, or I actually asked him for it. I want you to watch this. Kind of wanted to show you that because I saw it on his Instagram and just thought, wow. And I've talked to Victor enough. He's been on the show a few times. And, you know, it's about social. I mean, there's a lot of social media out there, and a lot of it's changed. I used to call Facebook hate book because when you went through all that, the political stuff that's happening. And you know what? As a professional clown, this is what I think of social media. First of all, I love it because it allows me to be able to promote and do whatever I want to do. But it's a double-edged sword. As a professional clown, I knew that I'd be traveling down the road, going doing gigs when I was younger, and I'd look out and you'd see a family in the car and they'd laugh. And I'm like, whoa. And I could do whatever I want. I can be as stupid as I want and do anything I want because there's an anonymity. I can't even say that word, right? That you can be anything you want when you're a clown and you're hiding your face. That's what social media can be sometimes, because you'll see people's profile pictures or your, you know, I guess you could say that online dating too, which I've never done. But the point is that it's not you. So a lot of times people hide behind the social media and they can be very hateful. And so I agree with what he is saying wholeheartedly is that, look, try to put yourself in other people's boots. I spent many, many years traveling around the world doing a Will Rogers show, and that's not the guy with the horse Trigger and the wife Dale. That's the humorist back in the early 1900s, which he said, you know, try to travel a couple of miles in someone else's boots. I always try to do that because actually, as Emily said as well, the thing is that you really have to kind of put yourself, people will say, oh, you this and that, you've gotten that and this. Everybody has their story. And here's something you should always remember. Sometimes, and a lot of times, their stories are a lot worse than yours. I could tell you stories that you'd go, holy crap, Will, really? Yeah, that's my family, so what, I grew up white trash, whatever, Chicago. But I'm here now. It's about being here now. So when you are here and now, and you get on social media, show a little love, show a little caring, show a little education, help people. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying.
I agree.
All right, and I appreciate you agreeing.
I agree wholeheartedly because, you know, I call them keyboard warriors, those that hide behind their keyboards and angrily text, you know, and message you and tell you how much they hate you, but you know they're the first in line to buy your content. So you're like, hey, keep hating, you know, it's fine. And, you know, I always tell them thank you, you know, thank you for commenting and boosting my algorithms always. So it's a sad thing because you'll notice that people that are doing things don't have time to put others down for no reason. And those that are doing things or that aren't doing things have all the time in the world to sit there and talk about how like upset they are at life and that they're angry at the opportunities that you're getting when you're actually going out and making those opportunities for yourself. You know, no one again handed me any of my projects. I had to go and raise money. I had to do everything the same way that we all have to make things happen.
Sure.
You know, it's just the way it is. And that's why I created the ebook, you know, because I've always asked.
I'm going to bring that up now. Go ahead, keep talking about it.
I keep getting asked, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated? How do you keep going? All of these different things. And I'm like, well, you know, I did a few classes over the last couple of years and people love them so much. So I was like, all right, you know what, I'll do another filmmaking 101 class. And this time they're going to get an ebook with it as well, which is the 30-day filmmaker challenge. And it actually will give them daily steps of what to do every day to achieve their goal of making a short film or a feature film or a music video. I give step-by-step guide of how to do these things. And in the class, I'm going to go in depth in these things and talk about film festivals and talk about distribution and talk more about investing. And I also have examples in the ebook. And then there's some people that, you know, don't have time for the class but want the ebook, so they're able to get the ebook as well. Because these are things that have always been asked, and people are always asking for more classes. And I'm like, all right, the new year I will do a class, and we already have some wonderful people signed up. You're signed up.
Yep.
I have a couple other people in the class too that are super excited, and you know what? I feel like we should be helping and taking the time to, you know, help motivate other people to keep on going. And if I could give my tips and tricks, and again, what works for me may not work for you, but at least there's some guidelines, you know, something that kind of can help you in a direction as you're going.
Right, and you know what, let me just say that the beauty of what's happened in the last 10, 15 years with YouTube, with social media, now again, double-edged sword, is that you can have people like you or me that have been through the trenches, that understand it, and you know, you don't always have to get masterclass with the people like Scorsese, which is awesome if you want to do that, but you have people like you. By the way, $100 is insanely cheap. I'm sorry, bad word. Inexpensive, but the book alone, I have it. Look, I don't care how long you've been doing this. Veterans, do not shortcut some of the pearls of wisdom that are out there, because a lot of times, you know, they do. Not me. I love. Why did I create this show? Look who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to people that, by the way, they work. And they know what their shit is. They know what they're doing. So with that being said, you know, be a sponge. Don't be a parasite or a barnacle. Because the fact is that you can learn so much. The fact that you're a Panasonic person makes me now even more excited.
Yeah, hold on. I'll show you.
Yeah, I mean, I get to look. I've been searching around all week for Vlog, and yeah.
I have the Mark II, GH5 Mark II,
Yeah.
and the S5.
That's pretty, yeah. What lens is that?
This is their new 20-60 millimeter, the S.
Yeah.
And then on the new Mark II, the GH5 Mark II, it's their new Leica lenses that they have that are. They've upgraded, like they've gotten some really awesome new
lots of
styles.
light.
Yeah, this is a 1260 on this one, and this one's a 2060 on the S5. But they have some new lenses that are coming out too, which is really cool. And yes, everyone's asking me about the G6,
Yeah.
the GH6 that's coming out, and I wish I could share, and I can't, but soon.
It's soon, yeah. No, that's awesome. And again, I can't emphasize the fact that I don't expect everybody out there in this industry to go out there and learn about tech and the cameras and so on. But I got to tell you, in this industry, again, let's use the word show business. There's business in the show. And if you don't learn your business, I mean, come on, we can't market people. I've got a whole pitch video that I did, my demo reel, which I made 46 seconds long, so they could see all these people I've worked with that are famous and so on. And the fact is that people like you, let me ask you a question for actors. Do you see self-tapes come in? How many times do you look at them and go, well, wow, I can't even watch this? I mean, you watch self-tapes?
Yeah, I mean,
How are they looking?
I've seen, so with River, we've had over 200 submissions
Wow.
for some of the roles that we have in River, and I know pretty quickly in the first couple moments if this, is the direction we're going or not. And I know self tapes, you always take it with a grain of sand, right? A grain of salt, because you never know. They don't have direction really. There's, they're just kind of going in it, the best they can. And you have to kind of look to see if there's that something
Sure.
that you can see that will go into this character that you're, casting. So I never go into it with crazy expectations, more of just like, do I see that something
Sure.
in this person that's going to really bring this character to life and make it their own,
Yeah,
but I've seen a lot of tapes that you just like, this one guy held the phone and did a tape and walked around the house doing a tape, and it was like I still kept it because I thought it was really funny and I couldn't stop laughing just because like some of the lines that he was like spinning, and you're getting kind of nauseous watching him do this, and you're like, I have no idea where this came from, but I get this absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I have to tell you, that and by the way, Christina right here is with a newspaper group that we are doing a travel segment that I'm calling Behind the Scenes of America, myself and Tim V. Murphy. When we were in Montana here for 3 weeks, we shot some really cool segments on what was there. But anyway, so shout out to her. But yeah, I mean, but I guess the question to ask is, when you're seeing a self-tape and it looks like it's shot through dirty underwear and you can't hear it, I mean, no offense, but I know you're being lenient, but isn't an actor kind of shooting themselves in the foot if they don't at least
Absolutely,
try
they're
to
not
do it
giving
right?
themselves the best chance,
Yeah.
to kind of be taken seriously.
Yeah.
I think the thing that really gets me more irritated when I get self tapes is when you have a deadline of when you want those self tapes to be coming in, and they don't send them then. They send them days later after you've already cast at this point, and then they're like, oh, why didn't you give me a heads up? And I go, I gave a deadline, like there was a deadline of when we need the tapes, because we're moving forward with this project and we have to cast and all this stuff, and it's just more of like, this isn't on your time. This is on the production's time, so you want to make sure that you get those tapes in at a timely fashion. The quicker you get them
Early.
in, the better.
Early.
Early. The quicker you get them in, the better. Because
don't be at the end.
We get tired towards the end of watching. Like, I watched 200 submissions for one role alone, and I was like, I had a team of people that were looking through, weeding people out because I got so overwhelmed with the amount of responses, because that's another thing, people are always asking me to audition, and I always put on my social media, hey, we're casting this, or this is what's going on. So my biggest thing is just absolutely submit as quickly as you can. Obviously you want it to be professional and get the point across, but get it in there. Don't wait to the last minute to do it, because at that point the directors and the producers already have in mind who they kind of picked for this role and are going to do callbacks, you know,
Right,
for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, you
So-
know, and just a side note on that, you know, back in the day, in the very early days of my career, I did a lot of background. I lived in Central California, in San Francisco. I did a lot of background work, and then I absolutely tried to do as much lighting stand-in as I could, which I did on a good amount of series. But the fact of the matter is that even being an extra is kind of the best way to explain it. If you're an extra that's really good, that doesn't overact, and you can get yourself in the front, I promise you, because that's how I got Taft-Hartley in 1985 on a commercial. I kind of went forward a little bit because they said, hey, is anybody, yeah, I wasn't sure if I could do it, but I moved forward. And by the way, 40 grand later on that commercial, I was Taft-Hartley by this Australian director. But the point is the same thing with what your career is. Don't be in the background. If you're a dancer, which I danced for 15 years, you don't sit in the back. They go, let's change the lineup. You know why they do that? So one, they can see what you're doing, and number two, you can see what you're doing. So don't sit in the background, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to keep on moving, you know, like we're not in an industry to stay in the background. This is not the industry to be that person, you know. A lot of people think I'm this huge extroverted person. I'm actually very introverted,
Right.
but I have to be extroverted when it comes to making friendships in the industry
Sure.
and talking and being on camera, which I love being behind the scenes most of the time anyway. And when I'm on set, I'm on like the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm on like a mission. But you know, I'm not that kind of person that's like I walk into a room and I'm like, look at me, I have arrived, you know, this is me. I'm very much, I walk in, I talk to people, I'm just kind of like, I observe a lot. I
Good.
just kind of like observe people.
Well, you're a director.
And yeah, I do. I'm like kind of quiet. Like actually, when you see me in the public settings, I'm kind of quiet. I watch people, my friends that are you know, very outgoing, and you know, they're actors. My best friend Mary, she's a freaking star. She just works the whole room. I've never seen anybody work a room like her. She goes on like, you know, when we had our red carpet for our premiere, and she was working everything, and I'm like, I went on and I was done. I'm like, I'm in, I'm
done,
out,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I was just watching her just light up the whole room with her personality. I'm like, that's why she does what she does, is because she's just this ball of light that just ignites the whole room. And I'm just that person that just kind of awkwardly walks around and says hello and observes. I'm an observer, and I'm totally okay with that. You know?
Yeah.
So I give it to you guys for being able to be in front of the camera all the time, because I'm just not that at all. Like, I like watching, I like, you know, tweaking things, and I'm the kind of director that never tells you what to do. I want to see what you're going to do first, and
wow.
then I see.
That's
Then I
great.
go from there.
Yeah, that's great. Well, last thing I want to ask you, which I should ask in the beginning, is have you ever been in front of a camera as a profession, like an actor, a model, or whatever?
Oh yes, I was a model. I was with Wilhelmina for quite a few years.
Wow.
I was actually scouted by Ford and Elite when I was in New York.
Wow.
And I was young, I was like 16. I didn't want to move to New York at the time, so when I came back to Florida, I was scouted again, but by Wilhelmina, and I decided to go with Wilhelmina, and then obviously I traveled with them working. I kind of used that to kind of get into the industry more, because I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I didn't know what that meant yet, because I had no one to talk to. So I did that. I did act. I practiced theater as well. I did a lot of like theater training.
Sure.
Because I'm an introvert, so I wasn't naturally one of those bubbly people that would
how's
see,
it going?
hey, I'm here, I'm ready, you know. So I was actually very shy. So when it came to having to stand in front of a crowd and perform, I hated it.
Oh, wow.
So I did theater to learn more and to work with actors actually, and to kind of figure out how actors work and how to be a better director.
Yeah.
So I actually put myself in those classes to learn with them. And when I was modeling, that was my opportunity that's how I met Michael Mann. I worked on Miami Vice, and I was actually cast in his movie, but I was in Ireland for a while, and my agency never told me that I booked the role. And so when I came back, I had so many missed calls on my parents' answering machine saying, "We thought you wanted this part."
Oh,
blah,
no.
blah, blah. And so I ended up calling the casting director, and his name was Michael as well. And I said, "Hey, I'm sorry I was in Ireland. My agency never told me that I had the job. I would still love to be a part of the project." They're like, "Well, we cast it already." I'm like, "That's fine. Can I be an extra?" And they're like, "You want to be an extra?" And I said, "Yes, I want to just be a part of the project with you." And so they said yes, and I got to work with them, and then I became friends with Michael and Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell, like everybody. And I actually would sit with the crew. I was so enthralled with the sound team and the camera operators. And one of the camera operators tripped over his cord and hit me in the head with the camera. And I fell into the crowd of 800 people because I was standing on top of this ledge that they had me on.
Oh, wow.
And like, I woke up to like, because I didn't knock out completely, I just kind of like went over, and Jamie came over, like picked me up. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. So like Jamie picked me up, and he's like, "Oh my God, are you okay, Emily?" And I'm like, "I'm fine," you know. And so, but yeah, that was like my moment of realization that I wanted to be a film director. And watching Michael just walk around and not say anything. He would just like point, and he would do these things with his hands that I'm like, this man is a genius. So like, that was it for me. That was it for me. And then I raised money and made my first short film right after I walked off a set. And I never looked back at modeling again.
Well, there it is. Emily, I really appreciate Emily Skye coming on the show. If you're interested, check out her Instagram. Of course, She Will Films. It is She Will Films on your site, right?
Yeah.
.com.
My actual website is emilyskyfilms.com.
That's right.
And She Wolf Films is all social media. I kind of put it differently because the She Wolf is like my production company.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And then also, by the way, I highly recommend this. I don't care what you do in the industry. I mean, look, this is just such a great opportunity. I hope you don't mind me putting up the prices and all that stuff.
No, I like. Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Good.
You know,
because you need to do it. Go to. And I'll do this. I think it's right there at the very top. There it is. EmilySkyFilms.com. Check it out, and I highly recommend you do it. Even if you can't do the actual, because you're doing live, like a Zoom. And
like
even
a
if you
Zoom.
can't do it, then get it for the book, because look, I looked through the ebook, and I worked for Fox Kids. I was a host there, and CBS, a feature reporter, and I've been doing this for a long time. But I looked through that, and I always know that there's going to be something, because I'm kind of not the guy that reads instructions when I build things. I'm a MacGyver. But then again, you meet people like Emily, and they're putting things together like this that isn't a lot of money at all, and look at it as an investment in your career, whether you're an actor and you never have touched a camera before. You need to see this and go through this, because obviously I've shown you on the show that she's extremely engaging. So with that being said, I highly recommend you check out. Thanks for coming on the show. You're awesome. And
Thanks for reaching out. I'm really happy that I got to come on here and connect with you, and I look forward to seeing you in the class and continuing chatting and everything. And thanks for being on here, everyone. And I saw someone's comment that popped up about how social media is sort of lacking a lot of professional, the quality of learning from professionals like you. It is like there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of BS on social media too. So you want to make sure when you're taking advice from people that it's from people that are actually doing things and making things happen, instead of people that just talk. Because there's so much chatter. And again, like you were saying, social media is a facade, but I try to be who I am on social media as I am like outside of social media. I'm the same person. I don't really change anything. Obviously, I choose better shots of myself instead of like, I don't want the total double chin when I'm like holding a camera kind of look. But, I try to be authentic, to who I am, so people are seeing that it is me on social media, and I'm the same person outside of social media.
Well, you look like you.
Important.
You look like your pictures, so you're good.
I'm good, right?
You
I
are
don't
good.
Photoshop my face, like it's
Right.
just You know, it's I try to be who I say I am, because there's so much BS out there, and people try to make themselves look more than what they are, and they really mislead people. I don't want to discourage people from their dreams and what they're going after by saying this is the most difficult thing, good luck trying to get there.
You'll never do it. Yeah.
You'll never do it, because you know what? Who am I to ever tell somebody that they're never going to make it there? Because I don't know their drive. You know, drive is going to get you there. So if you have it, you'll get there.
Yeah, that's the way
But
it
anyway.
goes. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. Don't leave. I want to say goodbye
Yes.
to you officially, but hang tight. And thank you again
Okay.
for coming on the show. Hang
Of
tight.
course. Thank
All right,
you.
everybody. Hey, that is the show for today. You know, I cannot emphasize what Emily was saying and people are saying is that, look, you can go on. I remember when everybody, back in the early days of my career, if you said you were an actor in anything else, they would kind of like come at you and go, yeah, you just have to make the decision. You can't be an actor and a writer, an actor and a filmmaker. Well, now that's changed, but the problem, this is the double-edged sword that I said earlier, is that, look, people go on to Dr. Google now to find out whether or not their arms are going to fall off or they're going to survive till tomorrow. And, you know, there's a reason why people train and get educated. I'm not a real big educational, meaning like I didn't go to a big college or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it's all been, you know, life itself. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, you can learn a lot, but figure out who you want to learn from. Because nowadays I see so many people saying, I'm a director, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a philanthropist, I'm a blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, you got a lot of time in your day. I thought I was aggressive. Anyway, go out there and do what you can, but more importantly, make sure the things you're doing and that you are doing them with people that know what they're doing, because you do not want to go down the wrong path in this type of business, because it'll lead you into a dark tunnel. All right, hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you on Monday. Monday, I think I've got, I have a SAG representative, because I'm going to talk about Screen Actors Guild and the sticky wicket, or the elephant in the room, FICOR. Love that. So we'll talk about that. All right, everybody, have a great day. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you in a little bit.